Thank you, His Excellency, for granting us this interview. To start with, what would you say is Russia's main focus when it comes to Russia-Myanmar relations?
First, thank you very much for taking this interview. Our overall goal in relations with Myanmar is to develop friendly ties and good cooperation for the interest of people of both countries. And we have a very solid foundation for this. Historically, we have been friends for more than 60 years. There are even material monuments of the friendship and good cooperation, like Yangon Technological University, the hospital in Taunji. So the history is favorable, and we should build up on this. We have very good political relations, and we discuss with our Myanmar colleagues serious issues of serious international problems, like disarmament, combating terrorism, strengthening information and telecommunication security. So we believe that every country, regardless big or small, can contribute to the decision and solution of today's world problems. We have very good humanitarian ties. Thousands of Myanmar students study in Russia. Last year, Myanmar medical doctors visited Russia to acquire new knowledge in healthcare and in child disease prevention. And we have good tradition of cultural exchanges. For the future, I think the main focus should be on development of economic ties, because they are somewhat lagging behind. But we have very good potential, and there are a lot of Russian companies which are interested in doing business in Myanmar, develop trade, and cooperate in co-production. So we are working together with our Myanmar colleagues through the Joint Commission on the action plan to develop economic ties.
Yeah. When you talk about the economic ties, I think that there was a target that by 2017, bilateral trade will be around like US dollar 500 million. Are you do you expect that will be sort of met, the expectation or the target will be met?
No, this target was just mentioned in one of the presentations during the first meeting of our Joint Commission. We will be working on this. We know the interest of Myanmar side, for example, in exporting agricultural goods, but some steps are needed, like certification and licensing. So we'll be working on it. Right now, we are on good pace, but additional steps are needed.
As you have witnessed, we have changes in the country for the last 5 years, 4.5 years. And how do you view those changes, reform process that we have in the country for the last 4-5 years?
We welcome reforms which enhance the standing of Myanmar as sovereign nation and contribute to the economic development of the country. However, unlike some other countries, we do not intend to teach Myanmar people how to live, what political or economic system to adopt. This is completely for the Myanmar people to decide. And we strongly believe that each country should adopt a system which suits its history, traditions, and other features, including people's psychology. But overall, we follow closely the reforms. We follow the historical actions. Our observers took part in monitoring of the elections and made positive conclusions. We welcome, of course, the progress in the peace process because it enhances security of people and create additional possibilities for development. And economic reforms are also beneficial both for Myanmar people and for expanding foreign ties with foreign countries. So we hope that the liberalization and economic reform would create additional opportunities for our bilateral cooperation. So despite the difficulties, we see the economic development of Myanmar during the last 5 years as quite impressive.
Yeah. Looking at the future, besides what you have mentioned on Russia-Myanmar relationship, what do you expect for Russia-Myanmar relations under the new government led by Nationally for Democracy?
You know, history tells us that Myanmar was most successful when she adopted active and independent foreign policy. We remember well that in the 50s, Myanmar was a prominent player in international and regional affairs, one of the founding members of the non-aligned movement, one of the founders of Panchashila, peaceful coexistence principles. So we hope that this good tradition of active and independent foreign policy would continue. We were encouraged by the words of the leader of National League for Democracy, Aung San Suu Kyi, that Myanmar is planning to develop friendly and mutually beneficial cooperation with all countries. And from our side, we're absolutely ready to cooperate, to interact in various areas on the basis of mutual respect, equality, and mutual benefit. So we can talk about enhancing political relations and promoting, for example, interparliamentary ties and human exchange, and of course, as I mentioned before, to take additional steps to implement economic projects.
Myanmar has an electrical power problem with only about 30% of the country's population on national electrical grid. And can you tell us about Russia's engagement with transferring nuclear power technology to Myanmar?
Yes, we have concluded an agreement in 2007 about the construction of research nuclear reactor. And last year, MOU was signed between Rosatom Corporation and Myanmar Ministry of Science and Technology on cooperation in peaceful use of atomic nuclear technologies. So this is a very advanced and long-term project, and it demands efforts from both sides. You know, in order to implement cooperation in this area, the country should have capacity, and most important is human resource capacity. So first step is training of people and educating them about these technologies, the safety measures, etc. Of course, we would develop our cooperation in this area in strict accordance with all international rules and regulations, and Myanmar side needs to take some certain steps in this regard. I know the nuclear safety law was discussed in the parliament, and I think it has been adopted recently. So this is a good step. So first, training of personnel. Then the next step, if Myanmar side is interested, could be developing of research reactor to produce isotopes, And nuclear technologies is not only nuclear power stations. The isotopes can be used in medicine, in agriculture, for quality control in industries. So it's very wide spectrum of application. About the nuclear power station, we analyze the Myanmar plans in terms of electricity. So our understanding is that the country plans to nearly triple or maybe even quadruple the production of electricity by 2030. This is ambitious and not an easy task. And we believe that development of nuclear energy could be one of the ways to achieve this goal. One nuclear power station with 4 blocks can produce the same amount of electricity as all Myanmar power stations are producing now. So in terms of quality and quantity, it will be a breakthrough. Our state corporation, Rosatom, is very well known and the leading actor in this regard in the world. It produces very reliable, sophisticated equipment for nuclear power stations. And the overall trend, I believe, especially in the light of recent decisions of the climate conference, would be in favor of development of nuclear energy. Look at the neighboring countries. China is developing this sort of technology. India, recently we concluded, Rosatom concluded agreements with Bangladesh, with Vietnam. So we believe this is a long-term trend in the world, and as we face a task of reducing CO2 emission. But again, the cycle is very long. Even if we start today, the station could be built in maybe 10 to 12 years. So it's a very long cycle. And so we are ready to start, and we feel that the Myanmar side is interested in starting the technological cooperation, research and training of personnel, and we expect the decision from Myanmar side on the future of the cooperation in this area. It's very promising, and it would also raise the technological level of Myanmar industry and overall technological level of the country. So we believe that this is a very promising area for future cooperation.
Yeah, I'd like to go into a little bit more into safety questions, safety of this nuclear energy program. Are you satisfied as of now, so far, with Myanmar making efforts dealing with international bodies, including with the IAEA, to make sure that there is enough safety mechanism, and there will be enough safety mechanism when it comes to nuclear energy or nuclear power technology?
We know that our Myanmar colleagues take this issue very seriously, and as they told us, there are certain steps ahead. First is the adoption of the legislation. Then there should be a body responsible for the nuclear safety, and then ratification of additional protocol inspections and cooperation with IAEA. So I think that this is a very good and solid plan, and we are ready also to cooperate with Myanmar in the area of nuclear safety and train personnel and explain. We have more than 50 years experience in this. Explain what are the main main points, main difficulties in this area. And hopefully this good progress and the safety will be fully ensured. The new generation of nuclear power stations is different from the old ones, and by specialists are saying that they are very reliable, and in economic terms they are competitive, because long-term cost, the cost of construction could seem big, but the long-term operational expenses are modest. So in economic terms, this is competitive area.
Yeah. I'd like to ask about military relations between the two countries. Can you tell us about Russia's protective engagement with selling new and reconditioned military equipment to Myanmar's armed forces?
You see, this is an area on which it is not common to comment publicly. But I must say that yes, we have good cooperation and with Myanmar, and I attended military parade last year, and was pleased to see Russian helicopters with Myanmar flag.
The first time, no? For the first time,
yes. And MiG fighter jets. So this is absolutely normal. We continue our cooperation again in strict accordance with international regulations in this area, and the purpose is to enhance the capabilities and to modernize Myanmar army. So this is again quite natural, and we cooperate with very many countries, with Myanmar neighbors. So this is a very also important area of our cooperation, because among other things, it also increases the technological capacity of Myanmar, because when you deal with sophisticated aircrafts or helicopters, people acquire specific skills and knowledge which they can use it in other areas as well.
How about training? Training, for example, training for the intelligence officers from Myanmar?
We have proposed cooperation in anti-terrorist training, and we have courses for ASEAN countries to train and to exchange, share experience and best practices in anti-terrorist activities. We also have a MOU of cooperation in anti-narcotics sphere, and our experts came to Myanmar last year and gave a course on investigation techniques in fighting narcotics. So that sort of cooperation, I think, is mutually beneficial, and again, we cooperate with other ASEAN countries in this area as well.
And President Putin, we noticed that Russia has been more proactive in many of the international affairs. We saw that active involvement in the Middle East in recent months and years. What do you think? How does Russia fit today on the world stage?
Russia is the biggest country in the world, and it's a nuclear power and member of UN Security Council. So we feel the responsibility for protecting international security and peace. So it's quite natural that we are playing a very active role as global power. During last years, according to our viewpoint, international situation has deteriorated, and it's now pretty complicated. We see two trends. One is attempts from some countries to stop the trend for building more just, more equitable new world order, polycentric with many players which interact on equal footing. Some countries obviously want to keep their domination, and that was one of the reasons. And of course, the second trend, which is worrisome, is the growing instability in the Middle East. We believe that to some extent it was also provoked 3-4 years ago by outside interference. And the destabilization which followed led to the rise of terrorist activities, to the ISIL problem, and other problems which we are facing today. We also have complications in Europe, where as we also believe, outside interference destabilized Ukraine, which led to a chain of events which unfavorably influenced our cooperation with other countries. But in the long term, we are optimistic because, this trend for democratization of international relations and establishing a new, more just and more equitable arrangements, it is objective historical trend. So we have very good relations with many countries, and many countries think the same way as Russia. Now, for example, BRICS countries had a summit in Russia last year, where they expressed their strong view about the need to change world economic system and to change political arrangements so that all countries could participate in solving international issues or on equal footing, and we should progress through collective efforts and collective decisions. So we would continue, of course, our active engagement in Syria. Our aerospace forces take part in military operation on the request of the legitimate government of Syria, and my understanding is that Russian participation in anti-terrorist operation changed the situation on the ground to a large extent. But of course, terrorism cannot be defeated by airstrikes or by purely military operations. So we hope for a political solution in Syria on the basis of Geneva principles, and we know the discussions are taking place even today about the possible talks. We are strongly in favor of reaching political solution in Syria and undertaking reforms which would bring peace to this country.
How do you view Russia's position or role in Asia generally, and also particularly Russia's relationship with Myanmar, and compare with, for example, with of China relation with Myanmar or United States relationship with Myanmar? How do you view this Russia's position and role in the region and also with Myanmar?
Mm-hmm. You see, a big part of Russia is in Asia, so we see ourselves as an integral part of Asia Pacific and actively engaged in all the political endeavors and economic cooperation there. So, generally speaking, on Asia Pacific and Asia situation, we see there is a lot of talk about Asia century, race of Asia. Yes, we see dynamic development of this region and the shift of power and economic power to Asia, which is this is very important global trend. We take active steps to promote cooperation in Asia. BRICS, I mentioned BRICS, it is not regional organization, but 3 of the members are in Asia, so BRICS also pays great attention to Asia situation. We have also progress in cooperation under Shanghai Organization of Cooperation, and now you see many countries would like to join Shanghai Organization, within India and some others. So this would be a new building block to develop cooperation in different areas. You see, initially the Shanghai Organization was focused on very narrow area of border security. It was born many years ago as a means to to solve the border issues between 5 countries. Now it evolved into big political and security organization, which has its own plans on anti-terrorist activities and political cooperation. And what is new, that we're now talking about economic dimension of Shanghai Organization. So next year would be marked by anniversary of Russia-ASEAN dialogue. So we will have a summit meeting with ASEAN leaders. So our dialogue is also very important, and it affects all 3 pillars of ASEAN integration. We support ASEAN centrality and support integration within ASEAN, and are ready to develop relations in security, political affairs, and economic area, and social and cultural sphere. And all this would be discussed between President Putin and the leaders of ASEAN. We hope big political document would be prepared and plan of action. So conceptually, we are now talking about 2 things. In the area of security, we have made proposal together with China about new architecture of indivisible security and development. Indivisible security means a very simple thing, that one country should not enhance her own security at the expense of other countries. And now we have 2 or 3 maybe rounds of consultations on the East Asia Summit. Many countries have proposals. Indonesia has her own proposals on this. India, China, Russia. So many countries are interested in these discussions, and hopefully our long-term goal is to work out sort of legal framework for the new system of cooperation and security and development in Asia Pacific. In the economic area, we quite recently, in December, President Putin put forward a very interesting proposal to have negotiations about economic partnership between Eurasia Union, which comprises 5 countries, Shanghai Organization of Cooperation, and ASEAN. So this is would cover vast areas and many countries. So we have concluded agreement on free trade with Vietnam. So on the horizon is a possibility of free trade agreement with ASEAN. But now we must take into account also the economic dimension of Shanghai Organization. So these three, Eurasian Union, Shanghai Organization, ASEAN could be three pillars, three members of a new economic partnership system. So that's basically our approaches to Asian security and economic cooperation.
How do you view Russia's relationship with Myanmar?
Yes,
compared with China or the United States.
Yes, we are our relations with Myanmar has its own context, history, and peculiarities. So we do not compare our relations with China-Myanmar relations or U.S.-Myanmar relations. For example, China is a neighbor of Myanmar. Of course, the volume of economic and people-to-people interaction is much greater. So we are different positions. And more generally speaking, we do not see it appropriate to consider the relations in terms of competition, rivalry, and struggle for influence. We believe that the relations could be mutually complementary, and you see Myanmar has a lot of problems and a lot of needs, and all countries can find a way and place to participate in cooperation and in development of Myanmar. So we do not believe that the rivalry and attitudes dictated by desire to harm other countries are appropriate. We seek mutually beneficial relations, and I think our position is that every country, while developing relations with other countries or making any international moves, should take into consideration the interests of other countries, and to move ahead in a balanced and cautious way.
Just one last question. Russia has been a good friend of Myanmar from the time when we became independent. If you may advise, what would you advise for Myanmar's future nation building, or like kind of a federal setup that Myanmar should have? I'm asking this because you have had Soviet Union experience, and afterwards Russia experienced its own experiences. So what would you advise for Myanmar?
Well, I'm hesitant to give any advice. Again, as I mentioned, this is for Myanmar people to decide in accordance with their tradition, history, and their attitudes. If we are asked, we can share our experience, as you mentioned. And you also mentioned the issue of federalism. I can only say that this is very serious matter, and this cannot be just a political slogan. You know, federalism is complicated arrangements, power sharing, resource sharing, money transfer. So this should be discussed and worked out in a very prudent and serious way from our perspective. For example, our experience, not only in the Soviet Union, Russia Federation is also a federation. So we moved along through different stages of arrangements, and this issue must be taken very seriously, and we can share our experience, for example, in financial matters, how to regulate the flows between regions which are more rich and regions which are not so rich. We have in Russia we also have similar problems. Some regions are donors, some are recipients, and there is very sophisticated system of redistribution of resources. so that those who are more advanced are do not suffer, and their development is stimulated, but at the same time they must also help other regions to develop. There are also other problems, for example, national resources. In Russia we decided that national resources should be a state monopoly. There is problems in culture and education. If somebody wants to teach, have education in national language, we welcome it. But then the problem is, if a person goes to university in Moscow, he must pass exam in Russian language. So that means that both national language and state language should be studied equally. Of course, we pay great attention to the preservation of national heritage and the national traditions of many countries, of many nations. We have more than 150. Myanmar has 136 national races. So in this regard, we are somewhat similar, and we even discuss with the Ministry of Culture ways to cooperate in sharing best practices in preservation of national cultures and national traditions. No advices, but we are ready to share our experience through visits, discussions, seminars, exchanges, and I think this is more appropriate than giving advices.
Thank you, His Excellency, for giving time for this interview.
Thank you so much.